I understand the Black Caucus is requesting that the Department of Justice not approve it. Am I correct?
I haven't heard that from the caucus. I've heard the caucus say that they were probably going to file suit, and we're going to have to be prepared for that. But it's part of the process, and it's a cost of doing business. We'll get everything done the way we need to get done and prepare for that. We have a plan that was approved by the House and the Senate, as does and the congressional plan as well. It's interesting, I think. Louisiana is the only state that has elections in 11 that got their plan passed. Virginia and Mississippi both failed to pass their plans because of political rancor. And so I think it's a kudo to the Louisiana legislature that we got ours done.
Could you just take us through the process real quick in terms of, I mean, certainly, you know, we're in April now. The elections are coming up, what, in October?
October. Yeah. The plans are completed. They've been signed by the governor. They will be filed with the Justice Department. The House handles its own. The Senate handles its own. The Attorney General handles the PSC and the congressional plan. Those will be filed shortly. We hope to have an expedited hearing, and we should hear back from the justice very quickly because we're the only ones that they have to look at. And so we expect to hear back from them within 30 to 45 days, which is while we will be in regular session. We have filed bills on each of the plans so that if the Justice Department comes back with a list of improvements that we can agree to, we'll be able to pass a subsequent bill and get Justice Department pre-clearance. If we cannot come to agreement on what the Justice Department has requested, we go to the District Court in the District of Columbia on a 3-judge panel for a court case to decide if the plan is sufficient or not.
And suppose you lose that, then what?
Well, if we lose, then what happens is, as I appreciate it, the court will draw its own plan, or they will give us, again, the opportunity to make some changes, and we may have to deal with that before the election cycle. But it's not likely that that's the way to go down. We feel very, very confident that our plans will pass Justice Department muster or have minor tweaks to them.
Would that give people an opportunity, especially people who are challengers, is that going to give them enough time to be able to I mean, one, they don't even know what the district's going to be.
It's going to be very difficult. I think for people who want to run for open seats or challenge incumbents, this is a tough process. We hope that the plan as passed will be approved, and I think that barring some major problem, that if the district courts had to draw at least the House plan, that it would probably be similar to what we have now with some minor tweaks. I think in most cases you can look at the maps now and feel fairly confident that that's what it's going to look like at the end of the deal. But there's always the caveat of a district court, a federal district court is a federal district court, and they may do what they want.
Of your House term, and I'm just wondering, if you had an opportunity this session, this spring, summer, and fall, to really put together the kind of things that you wanted to put together, what would it be? I mean, you know, when you leave at the end of this year, what do you want to look back at?
Well, that's a good question, and I've thought a little bit about it. It's funny, as you get closer to the end, you start thinking about what do you really, really want to get done before you go. There are two big picture issues, and I've taken on big picture issues throughout my entire legislative career because I think that's what we need to do to move this state forward. But there are two that need additional work. I would really like to see a tax code overhaul. I think that we made some improvements, particularly for business and repealing Stelly, but we need to look at where we are giving exemptions, suspensions, and credits. And is it some of those go back to the 20s or maybe even before that, and are those still in the best interest of the state? I think there needs to be a real overhaul, or a real review at least at a minimum of that. And secondly, the
governor indicated that there were certain exemptions that, at least he indicated yesterday in New Orleans, that there were certain exemptions and tax credits, I believe, that were just off the table. Are we talking the same thing?
Well, no, I'm not certain exactly which ones he was talking about, but, you know, there are $7 billion, with a B, dollars worth of credits, exemptions, and suspensions. And I think that's really double, or the same amount, I should say, as what we take in taxes. And so, you know, that should be reviewed every so often just to make sure all of those suspensions and credits and exemptions make sense. A lot of them do. I mean, the tax credit for the film industry, for instance, has ballooned the industry here in New Orleans. We're making way more off of it than we're losing in the credit. But those are the kinds of things that I think ought to be reviewed. And the second thing I will say that from my own personal perspective is I wish I had been more involved in the natural resource area. I had never served on the committee. But after the BP oil spill, I think I've come to realize that we need to do more about protecting the environment and natural resources than where we are in this state. I think we're not grossly out of balance like some environmentalists think, but I think there are some things we could do to better the environmental picture in this state.
Good luck in this session.
Thank you very much.